You become self-aware and you peel something back that you weren't willing to look at before, which then opens up another thing and opens up another thing. Uh, it all stemmed really from this mindset of it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair that this happened. It wasn't fair that that happened. And the idea of fair. And I
Mm,
compare that to my faith in Christ, that a lot of times I look at things that aren't fair. How can God let people starve in a world? How can God let war happen? How can people have disease? That doesn't seem fair. Well, if I'm going to talk about what's fair, it's not fair that God would love the world that he created so much that he died for it. And then we reject him and ignore him. And that's not fair. So I had to come back to this idea of fair. And it's not fair that I get to live in America where someone has to live in some country right now that's being bombed or their children are being stolen and put into the army or slavery or women are sold off for slavery. And it's just sad.
yeah.
It's not fair that I get to have a wife who loves me and cares for me. It's not fair that I have both legs and both arms when some people don't. There's a lot of things that aren't fair. So when I get all caught up in this mindset of, well, it's not fair that I lost my job. It's not fair that this guy has that house and I only have this house. Dude, get over yourself. You are blessed. No matter if you are watching this podcast right now, you're richer than most of the world because you have a way to watch something on some digital item and get the internet somehow. You have some money, and most of the world just looks for survival. So I think we need to be real about our journey and get off ourselves because nothing is fair. But you're very blessed and you have a lot of good things going for you. Take that and run with it and then use it to help other people. That's why I want to talk about this book. I want to help people understand the freedom that comes with accountability and the joy that your life can have as you embrace the stuff that you're facing and own it. It's way better.
Yeah, I love all of that. I think the thing that I found on my journey, because I didn't find entrepreneurship until I think I was in my late 20s, and I was and I went to go see a therapist because I felt completely lost. I'm like, my mother wanted me to be a teacher or a bank manager or something. These big institutions that were super safe, and obviously I don't blame her for that.
Oh yeah, banks are
Um,
safe. Yeah.
in Canada for sure. Those
Oh,
five banks will be
okay.
gone before after the apocalypse. Those things are going anywhere in Canada. But the thing is, I couldn't foresee a future in which I knew the next 25, 30 years of my life, and so that wasn't something that really occurred to me to do. And I went to a therapist, and she mentioned entrepreneurship, and I'm like, oh. And so I thought about it. I started reading about it. A friend of mine was taking that path, and looking back now, I realized that as I started moving in that direction, like taking courses on coding or marketing or copywriting, and like starting different things, many of which failed before I found something that did. And I would say most people were kind of like, I could see them thinking like, what the fuck is Mike doing? Is he insane? Like, just go get a job. but but there were a few people in my life that were like super supportive and stepped out of the woodwork to give me more books to read, to take me to conferences with them, to meet people that were doing that stuff. And the path really does open as you start moving towards
As
something
you're open
that
to it.
as you're open to it. And I think and allow people to open a door for you, or to just say like, it's okay, keep going, you're
Yeah.
doing you're doing good. And again, it goes back to like, we really rob people from the chance to help us. Like, it doesn't mean handouts or to give you money, like all these. It just means to like help a friend, or to teach something new to someone who's coming up, as I would do now to people that are starting businesses, etc. And I don't know, how do you think about that? Have you seen that in your client work as well? That a lot of people, once they start accepting the things in their life that maybe they're standing in their way of, that they really start changing when they're like, okay, maybe this is on me.